always remember when I did not understand how I used to stand under all the fool's rules running these lands. I had my head in the sand and I was asleep. Now I learn a little more every day, and I'm waking the sheep. Gonna say it out loud, say it proud, get it out, 'cause I'm burning inside, cannot hide it no more. I'm a raconteur too. Yeah, I'm a raconteur too. Oh, I'm a raconteur too. Oh, the people in the chat room singing. Oh, I'm a raconteur too. One more time now. Oh, I'm a raconteur too.
Good evening and welcome to Raconteurs Too. My name's Jason Holmes and I'm here to remind you that this world is for everybody and not just for Aid Hardy. And just a bit of an update on Aid. He's got a bit of a bad neck at the moment. I have had a word with him today. His neck's all cricked and all done in, and he's been to an osteopath. And as he cannot, I think they tried to kick him out at one point because every time the osteopath touched him, he kept saying, "Oh, fuck!" So AD's he's a little bit under the weather, but he enjoyed his time off. He's been away. He's had a holiday in Thailand, a few days there. So he's back on the mend, and hopefully soon enough, he will be back on these airwaves and telling you that the world is for everybody else and him, including him. Anyway, listen, welcome to the show. It's the 30th of October. Tomorrow night is my wife's busiest time of the year. So, tomorrow night. Did I say last night? Tomorrow night is my wife's biggest night of the year, and I'm sure a few people will share that sentiment as well. Her broomstick's in the shop at the moment, but hopefully it'll be done for tomorrow night. And if you celebrate Halloween, happy Halloween to you as well for tomorrow night. Listen, no show tomorrow night because Sheffield Wednesday are at home and I've got a season ticket. But I have lined up an hour on Wednesday evening with Andrew K. Fletcher. He's going to be coming back in and telling us about this exciting new study that's being being done on inclined bed therapy. So anybody that's tried that, if you go onto the inclined bed therapy Facebook page, you'll find there a link where you can go and give some testimony. This is all going to be anonymous and it's all going to be presented. The sad thing about this is these findings are going to be presented to the French health authorities and not the NHS, which is a little bit frustrating on his part, as you can imagine, but at least it's some sort of progress. Anyway, listen, anybody who listens regularly will know that I've had a bit of a torrid couple of weeks, and it culminated in the end of last week. I was sick. I was ill. I was being sick every day, all the time. If you're eating your dinner, you perhaps want to turn your volume down, because what I'm about to tell you, this has actually happened to me, and I thought I've got to share this with somebody. I've shared it with my wife. I've got to share this, so I'm going to do this now. I went to Morrison's on Friday. I've had an upset stomach, and I've not been eating, and I've been being sick, although it was nothing but acid or anything that I put down. Just nothing would stay down. Anyway, my wife ordered me to go to Morrison's on Friday with a knife at knife point. And so I went to Morrison's, and this Morrison's is in a place called Catcliffe near Rotherham. Now I'm walking around Morrison's, and I thought I'd had a few dry trumps in the day, and I could feel another trump coming on. So naturally, I did the old squeezy thing and filled my pants with poo in Morrison's, pushing a small trolley around. I don't walk very far, and I'm at the opposite end, the very opposite end of the store from where the toilets are, right? So there I am. I've got a funny walk anyway, And there I am. I'm clenched up as if I've got Kevin Spacey following me. And I'm walking all funny, and I'm going across, and it took me ages because I can't walk very fast anyway. I can't walk very well at all. It took me ages, and by the time I got over there, it was like somebody put a custard pie on my arse. That's what it felt like in my pants. So I made my way to the customer service desk, and I said, "Can I leave this trolley here while I really need to go to the bathroom?" And so that was fine. I went into the toilet, cleaned myself up. Cleaned myself up with the toilet paper, obviously. Took me kegs off, and there I am in this cubicle in Morrison's with a pair of shitty kegs. What do I do with them? Because you know what the cubicles are like in supermarkets. They think that people are going to hide things in them that they've stolen, so there's nowhere to put anything. So what I did is I got my underpants and I hung them on the back of the door on the hook that's there for people's coats and what have you. Flushed the toilet, got me trousers back up. Flushed the chain, hung the underpants, the offending underpants, shit-coloured underpants, on the back of the door on the hook. And then, to my horror, I opened the door and there was somebody there waiting to go in. What do you do? So I just had to leave the underpants on the back of the door, and the bloke, when he went in there, I didn't stop to wash my hands for the obvious reasons that this bloke might come running after me with his saying, "You've left your kegs, you've left your kegs." Then when I got back into the store and I got back to the customer service desk to pick up my trolley, I'd not zipped up my trousers, and there was a hole, shall we say, and I obviously had no underwear on, which was pointed out to me by the very nice lady on customer services. Yeah, quite a horror show. I don't think I'll be going back there for quite a long time. And I did contemplate just walking out and not and going to a different store. But anyway, that was my Friday in a nutshell. So if you're having your tea, I'm really, really sorry about that. Anyway, let's crack on with the show. We've only got an hour. I've got unfortunately, our guest tonight's let us down, but stepping into the breach at the last minute like the hero he is, we've brought on Paul Webster. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm good, Jason. How are you, apart from your shitty conversation?
Yeah, my shitty kegs. Oh, you know, but for a man of 47, I don't half shit myself a lot. You know, it's quite unnerving. But I had a genuine excuse. I was really ill, and I'd got this really bad. Stomach thing going on. So what's going on with you?
Well, pretty much it's been the same old. You know, I'm involved with a lot of other people. We're working on a lot of stuff. Some of the stuff has come to a bit of a halt, for the moment anyway, because we've got a council tax case going on, and we've got utility bills cases going on. They've had to come to a stop because the guy who's running those cases has just had a quadruple bypass. And you probably find it as no surprise, the courts doorstepped him, doorstepped his wife on at least 3 occasions, sending debt collectors, bailiffs and paperwork all to his wife, whilst the court was in full knowledge that the guy was still in hospital after a quadruple bypass. So these are the bankers that you're really up against in these cases. As you well know, I've been doing this stuff for a long time now. It was my turn again to end up in court because British Gas had decided that 6 years is long enough, that I've not, shall we say, settled my account because they refused to accept my legal and lawful remedy of the negotiable instrument. Having said that, I say they refuse to accept it. What they refuse to accept is they refuse to accept payment, but in retained they retain the negotiable instrument. Under the Bills of Exchange Act, that is accepted. So if they are refusing to accept a negotiable instrument, then I am entitled to a legal notification as to why, which they refuse to do. Now, just to go back a little bit, I was in court October 2013. It had come from July, where we went to the magistrates in 2013. The gas agent, the exact same gas agent that I had all along, stated under oath that there was no health and safety issue. It was a monetary dispute, so therefore I said, well, we're in the wrong jurisdiction, obviously. You can't grant a warrant if there's no health and safety issue, so there must be a monetary dispute, which I claim that this account is in dispute. I tried to settle the account and remedy it with this negotiable instrument, and I need to speak to somebody legally trained. To which the legal clerk put it before a district judge. 2 weeks later, so in August, we attend the court. A guy in a boiler suit turns up with a letter for me that's talking about debt avoidance techniques gleaned from the internet and promissory notes, which is nothing what I've even spoken to these people about. I've not touched on promissory notes with these idiots. So,
okay, listen, Paul, I just need to stop you there. I just need to ask my producer, Andy, are we going live? Because I've just had a message from my mate Heath, and he says he keeps refreshing, but nothing's happening. I can't hear you, mate.
So I'll just check on the page, mate. Just 1 second. Just refresh.
Let you in.
Yeah, it's live on the Raconteurs news page. I'll just get that transferred over. It should have been updated, but I will get that in the next minute or two. Apologies, Heath, and everybody who's trying to listen, but we'll get that sorted in the next minute or two. I'll give you a thumbs up when it's posted on the main page and get folks to... I'll post in the chat room, refresh again.
Okay, no problem. Well, when you give us the signal, we'll start again. We'll not start again, but, you know, we'll continue on. Well,
okay, it's on the main page now, so if everybody can refresh, they'll be able to hear us.
Right, okay. So I'll just send Heath a message to refresh. Sorry about that, Paul.
No worries. Like I said, basically, we ended up in court in July. They couldn't deal with it. The legal clerk and the magistrates didn't have a clue about it, so they put it before a district judge. British Gas sent again nobody who was legally trained. They sent a guy in a boiler suit who was it looked like he fitted a boiler, and then turned up at court and it was like job and knock. He just handed me a letter which was a basic letter that I had 3 months previous from him, talking about debt avoidance techniques gleaned from the internet, and promissory notes, which is nothing to do with what I was using. I was using the negotiable instrument that they must send me as part of a valid bill under a non-commercial agreement. So it then got, the district judge then adjourned it for 56 days, and then nobody turned up. So we threw the warrant out. So I decided, because they would never acknowledge me, I tried to speak to the legal department. They won't speak to me. So I thought, well, if you're going to ignore me, I'm bound to ignore you. So I've ignored them for 6 years. Now they decided to go for the occupier. So I knew that there was no way I could not attend, because going for the occupier, they're basically stating, we think this is an empty property. And under the Warrants of Entry, the Rights of Entry Act, they're entitled to get a warrant to force entry to cap the meter, because if it's empty, they're obligated to cap the supply. So they've sent 2 letters. They landed on the 21st of September. So happens to would have been my dad's birthday. Both letters were dated the 21st of September. Both letters landed on my doormat on the 21st of September. So I put a little bit of a bundle together, went back into court, put it in, and I said, look, are you going to allow these people to breach the court rules and procedures yet again, where we've gone through all this? The warrant has been denied. It's not a health and safety issue. The legal clerk started to go on about the monetary aspect of it. Now, this legal clerk was involved in a case of somebody who I was Mackenzie friend with. And she started to say, well, these joint gyro credit checks, which is the negotiable instrument, she couldn't name it as a negotiable instrument because it is my belief that she doesn't have a clue what that means. But she stated that these were sorted out at the last hearing. I said, I haven't had a hearing. I've not been to court since 2014. Yes, you were. You were here in 2015. Sorry, you were here in February this year, 2017. I said, no, I wasn't. I said, I've not had a hearing. She says, you was here. You was a Mackenzie friend. I went, why have you got somebody else's case notes in my hearing? What's going on here? It sounds like conspiracy almost. Are you now conspiring using another person's case notes, in my case, to try and debunk something that isn't there? And I said to the magistrate, I said, excuse me, sirs, because there was 2 fellas, 2 magistrates, and I said, excuse me, do you understand the Bills of Exchange Act 1882, negotiable instruments and how the mechanism works? And they stated, we don't have to understand that. Okay, so that means the legal clerk is going to advise you. I asked the legal clerk, can you tell me, do you understand the Bills of Exchange Act, negotiable instruments and how they work? I'm not here to answer your questions, was the answer I received. I said, well, that tells me you don't understand what the Bills of Exchange is. And she said, how dare you? That's very rude. You don't even know me, yet you presume that you know what I understand and what I don't understand. I said, well, do you understand what a negotiable instrument is? I'm not going to engage with you on this. Have you tried
so no
to
then.
pay? Exactly. Have you tried to pay? And you could see she'd gone really ashen-faced at this point, and she was getting very angry. I could tell. And I'm still stood in the dock at this time. She's starting to tick boxes, and she's saying, have you tried to pay this through the accepted forms of payment, what British Gas accepts? Direct debit, cash, cheques, postal orders. I said, no, I settled the account through the legal and lawful remedy. She said, have you tried to pay through direct debit, cash? I said, I've settled the account for the legal and lawful remedy of the negotiable instrument that is provided to me for a valid bill for a non-commercial agreement by British Gas. She said, you're being very obstructive here, Mr. Webster. I said, no, you're the one that's being obstructive. I'm trying to manipulate this hearing in favour of a corporation because I don't believe you've got an understanding of the Bills of Exchange. And she said, no, that's right, right, okay. Could you just leave the court whilst we deliberate? I went out of the court for must have been less than 3 minutes. I walked back in the court, and the magistrate's saying, we have granted the warrant. I said, right, okay, puts me stuff together, and I says, could you give me your names, please, sirs? I said, because I'll be taking this forward in a claim, and you've made a decision that I do believe that you don't understand. And they shit themselves. And the legal clerk jumps up out of the chair, spins round and says, oh, it's okay. He will only be able to make a claim against the Ministry of Justice, not you as individuals. And I went, oh, really? I said, is that what you really think? I said, could you tell me your name? She says, I'm not giving you my name. You just mentioned that you're going to take a claim. I went, oh, right. That's how we're going to play this. I went, well, I said, it's just typical this, isn't it? I said, you were very poor in the last one, you've been even worse in this. I said, I'd be very surprised if you're legally trained at all. How dare you? I said, I'm not even talking to you anymore, I'm going to leave. And she started trying to shout after me. I said, you're a joke, miss. You're a joke. I'm not interested in listening to you. Please don't speak anymore. You're making a fool of yourself. I just walked out of the court. Because... Go on.
They do tend to have a sense of self-importance, don't they, clerks in courts? Because I remember one time I was on a speeding charge, and she was trying to get me to. She were asking me, are you Jason Holmes? And I was just ignoring her, so I'm not talking to you in front of them, and so I told them to go, the magistrates. But she really was shouting at me. Then the next thing you know, you've got security all over you, haven't you?
Yes. Well, that's exactly what I was going to avoid this time, because, as you well know, it's more than well documented. I mean, I've been on over 40 radio interviews, I should say. Been on your show loads of times, and this story and the background, what happened to me, were I asked just one question in the county court: what jurisdiction is the judge standing over to claim authority over me and my property without my consent? Bearing in mind, I had no solicitor. In a county court, which is all business negotiations, he had no authority. Yet, 4 minutes later, I had 2 armed police stood in front of me, 2 armed police behind me, and 1 either side of me, in a courtroom where I'm stating, I don't want to sell my house. That's how this all started, and that's how this showed me what a set of bastards are working in these courts. And these courts are they're hand-picking people to go before and preside over hearings where people are starting to learn for themselves. For the first time, I would say, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals who have known this stuff many more years before I did. But even 5 or 6 years ago, I said to you just off air, Jason, 6 years ago, there was nobody that I could even contact. There was nobody talking about bills of exchange and negotiable instruments for these utility bills. And now everybody starts to switch on to it. That doesn't mean that I'm clever or anything, because I was standing on the shoulders of people who's giving me this information. You know what I mean? It wasn't that I'd gone and read this and gone, oh, look at this, I know this, I found this. No, I was struggling. I went out and searched, I researched, and I found people who've given me stuff that are it's just gold. Yeah, I mean, when you get your head around the fact that this is a debt-based economy, and we keep getting told that there is no money, it's austerity. Well, guess what? The clue's in the title, debt-based. I cannot pay for anything. I can only promise to pay. The economy is based on promise and trust. I always use the analogy of somebody going to a shop and saying, can I have a Mars bar? And they promise to pay for the Mars bar. The newsagent accepts the promise and gives them the Mars bar. The newsagent takes that promise to the warehouse and promises to pay for the box of Mars bars. They accept that. The warehouse takes that promise to the factory who makes the Mars bars and promises to pay for the boxes. The factory accept that and then turn to the workers and promise to pay the workers for all their hard work with pieces of paper that say, I promise to pay. And the worker goes to the shop and promises to pay for the Mars bar. That's how this economy works, because it is debt-based. When you get your head around that, you then need to get your head around the fact that banks cannot lend money because it's illegal for them to do so. So where does that money come from? It's created from credit, which you take to the bank. So the bank are quids in. They're making billions and stealing property with no dog in the fight. No, it's too easy for them, Jason. And I think that is what has been the best part of this experience for me, was to get in touch with people who were going through similar to what I was. Anthony Carlin, he created case law that I used, that I saw picked up and turned over, and the judge said, I can't see that. And the case law, apart from a lot of other stuff, the basics of it was, you're a very big building society, however, you've still got to prove this man owes you money. I can't take your word for it. Whereas my judge turned the case law over and said, I can't see that. I take the bank's word that you owe them money. Now, that wouldn't work if I took you to court, Jason. They wouldn't take, we believe you, Webby. Jason, pay him that £1,000 you owe him.
Yeah, but that's the way it works for the corporations, and that's because the corporations run the courts.
Well, no, I slightly changed that for me. I say the judiciary and the executive, which are the corporations and banks, they work together with the Crown. The Crown can't lose in their own courts. And basically what we're doing is, we are not going into courts of law where you're going to get justice. You're going into corporate courts because, as we all know, we were corporatised from birth. We've accepted that corporatisation. We act in that corporatisation. We consent all the time. You know, people want to... I got sick of this argument a long time ago. The free man of the land, right? People say, that's free man of the land. Do you know what? Free man of the land, when you drag it down to the bare bones, it's the piece of piss way to understand that you're not liable. That's the piece of... But when you stand in a court and you try and use those arguments, these people, because of their status and because of their arrogance almost, they stand and laugh at you. So that is why I withdrew from saying, I'm not signing that, I don't consent, which is the basics. If I've not consented to something and you don't suspect me of a crime, it's pretty much end of the line for you. You know, if I've not consented to some kind of a fine or some kind of liability, then you must suspect me of a crime to have me in a court. Well, we're in the wrong type of courts for a crime. Yes, we could talk about corporate crime, and this is where the shades of grey start to come in between the black and white. We have been corporatised, and we do get sucked into this. And there's no easy way, because they've been doing this for so long, Jason. There's no easy way to put that barrier up.
If everybody knew that we were all corporatised, like you've just explained, that the problem is that it's hidden unless you actually seek it out. So that means that you need to come under some hardship or some stress or some trauma before you will seek that out. So it's been well hidden from us. Nobody goes, oh, hello, there you go. It's your first day at school. Hello, kids. Right. The first thing you need to know is that when you were born, you were corporatised.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And your parents went through that same system, and you trust what your parents teach you. My mum was a businesswoman. She worked 13 hours a day in her own business. She ran pubs, she ran shops. And my dad was a long-distance lorry driver in the days where you did 6 nights on, and you got 1 night off, and then you did 6 nights on. There was none of this 6 nights on and 6 days off. There was none of that in those days. So these two people worked like dogs for me. I was the only child. I was a bit of a surprise. My mum didn't think she could have children, so they worked like dogs. And I always remember my mum saying to me that, hey Tom, the gas bill's in. Do you want to go out for a meal and a pint this weekend when you're off? And if not, I'll not pay it and I'll wait for the red letter, or I'll pay it. You know, I always remember that. And these two people work like that for a night off, and it wouldn't be a long night because my mum would be up Sunday morning to open the newsagents. So I remembered all this whilst I was being called a thief, whilst I was being called a lot of words, but the main one that stuck with me was a thief. I am taking gas without paying for it. I had close people who said, well, you can't go to Morrison's and get a loaf without paying for it. I went, No, but you'll get a loaf and then promise to pay for it, but you still won't pay for it. Will I hand money over? I says, yes, you'll hand useless pieces of tokens that we consider as currency for use of that. I said, that's how it works. I said, you don't think, what do you think money is? This is just an exchange of energy. What somebody will accept because they know they can take that and somebody else will accept it and they can swap that for their use of goods. That is all this is. And when I knew that my parents were working like that, I could not just carry on. And I'll tell you, you know, Jason, British Gas came for me for this fight. I was paying £60 a month direct debit whilst I was studying the bills of exchange and trying to work out, chatting to myself, saying, are you mad? Your gas is free. How does this work? I'm going through all that whilst trying to defend my property against people who have no authority, no jurisdiction to do anything. They're using police, armed police at that. They're using video evidence gatherers against me. And I have no remedy here. What's going on? So my head's all over the place. So I get to British Gas. £60 a month, I'm paying. Yeah. Well, you've reduced it to £5 a month without telling me. And now you've hit me with this £454 bill. Why? Well, it is our mistake, but the money still needs paying. I said, okay, send me a paper bill. And I'd gone through from direct debit. I was paying every 2 weeks at the local shop. They said I've not paid. When I got the receipts in front of me, they wanted me to send the receipts off. And I went, no, I've had enough. Send me a paper bill. They sent me a paper bill, and attached to the bottom of the paper bill is what says on it is a bank giro. To a non-commercial property, which is domestic, which is mine, they have to send a valid bill. Attached to that valid bill is not a bank giro, but a joint giro credit check. There's a difference. The joint giro is value. It's a negotiable instrument of value. It's a credit check. What happens is, under the bills of exchange, the money is paid from the Treasury, from our trust, from the bankruptcy, which you've not claimed because we didn't know it was there. Well, that's paid to, all the non-negotiable instruments are paid into British Gas or whoever you're with, into the corporate bank account. From the non-commercial agreements, what they do is, so when it's transferred in, that is their draw, their cash draw. So the funds have been transferred into their cash draw. That's the first position that they take. The second position on the bills of exchange, they become the drawee. So they take the funds out for the non-commercial agreement, which is me. So they've withdrawn the funds as the drawee. They can't settle my account despite being my agent under a non-commercial agreement. A commercial agreement, you are their customer. Under a non-commercial agreement, they are your agent. They're acting on your behalf. So they have to issue those funds in the form of a credit check to the payee, which is me. Now, I must settle the account. The only way you can settle that account is transferring that check by endorsement. So I endorsed the check and sent it back to them, which they kept. And they wrote to me and said, you sent the giro check, but no payment. So it's obviously gone to somebody who is not legally trained under the Bills of Exchange Act and negotiable instruments.
Yeah, of course.
This is why it built up and built up and built up to where I got in touch with the owners of British Gas, Centrica, in Staines, Middlesex. I wrote to the CEO, heard nothing, wrote to the CEO twice. I then rang them. I asked to speak to the legal department. And this was after I'd given my number, and they got my details up on the computer, and I was speaking to a guy who described himself as a fellow called Les. And I said, right, well, what I'm trying to do is I need to speak to the legal department because I've settled this bill. And he cut me off. He says, well, you haven't paid your bill. I said, I'm sorry. He said, you haven't paid your bill, Mr. Webster. I said, I've settled the account through the lawful remedy of the check. And he said, no, you haven't. I said, are you legally trained? He went, are you? I went, Les, I said, it doesn't matter whether I'm legally trained because I'm always right, Do you not recall that? Do you not always recall the customer's always right until you can show me that I'm wrong? And I said, you telling me that I've not paid my bill is not helping because you're not legally trained. Will you put me through to legal? No. That was the answer I got. He said, I'll ring legal, could you ring back? So I thought, well, I'm not going to start shouting and swearing at you, Les. I'll let you do what you're doing. I rang you back 15 minutes later, and this was Les. Oh, thanks for calling back, Mr. Webster. I'm so happy you called back. I've spoken to legal, and they'll be in touch with you. They're reviewing the accounts as we speak, and they'll be in touch with you. That was July 2014. And the next interaction I had with them is they're going for another warrant. So this
6 years later.
Yes. Well, it started off 6 years ago, but this was... Yeah. I spoke to Centrica in July 2014, when after they sent me a letter in April saying, we're coming to fit a page roll meter on the 9th of April. Now, bear in mind, they'd not been to court. They hadn't been to court, so I rang them up. Oh, no, there's no warrant action. I went, right, what's your name? Took the name, time, date. Then I rang Les the day before. Spoke to Les. Said, is this warrant active? No, Mr. Webster, it's not active. So we never turned up in April. And then when I spoke to them again in July, no, nothing's happening, they'll be in touch. So I've waited 3 years, Jason. And 3 years later, apart from them sending me gyro checks, joint gyro credit checks, which I'm not going to transfer them back to them, because bear in mind, when they wanted 454 quid, I settled the account by transferring by endorsement the cheque. They're now saying I owe them over £2,000. So if I transfer another cheque and they keep it and then say I've not paid them, that means I've paid them £2,500 already. Yeah. Yeah. And they're saying I've not paid them. Now, this goes back 30 years ago that I remember cases coming out where, I mean, up where I come from, I remember my nan used to always say, oh, I've got to pay this bloody gas bill. I'm going to the electric board or gas board. She's going paying it at the shop. Yeah. You know, so she'd go to the shop to pay it, not, you know, but she'd take the cheque, what I know to be a credit cheque. So let's say 400 quid for the quarter. She's taking a cheque for £400 of credit, and then she's putting £400 cash to that, and she's paid British Gas 800 quid. And they're taking that. These bastards are taking that. And that is why in 2012, when I saw that British Gas made £2.3 billion profit, where is all that coming from? Because I'm telling you now, Jason, as I'm sat here, mate, these energy companies are only able and are only there to take payment from commercial agreements, because pubs, clubs, shops, businesses, companies, even these tax-exempt companies, should be paying for the maintenance and service of the grid that every man and woman in this country registered has shares in. That's as far as my research has taken me. Nobody can show me that I'm wrong. Nobody's proved me wrong. I'm all for, I've got this open mind. I want to be taught. I want to learn. I've learned this stuff about these credit checks. Nobody can debunk it because they're debunking bills of exchange. You debunk the bills of exchange, you're shattering commerce for hundreds of years. You're shattering admiralty law. You can't do this willy-nilly.
Listen, Paul, listen, anyone who's just joined us and you don't know, I'm talking to Paul Webster, and we're talking gas mainly at the moment. But I'm mindful of the time. We've got like about 20 minutes left. So what I want to do is I want to... How has this affected your health and you psychologically throughout it? And have you had any issues? And how are you now?
Yeah, when this started, I mean, I've been doing this 10 years now. It took very, very close friends. One particular friend in mind who actually used my daughter in a really good way to show me that I was actually having a breakdown over this. not over the gas, because like I said, it started over my personal property in 2012, and I was studying day in, day out. I had everything right. I could regurgitate every single act, statute, everything that I needed. Everything was there. And then it was Christmas Eve 2012. I'd been off work because I was off sick, because I was studying, I was needing to go to court. And in fact, I was in court virtually every week at that point. And it got to a point where my mate said to me, look, it's Christmas Eve, you've not been out of the house for weeks, you're coming out for a couple of pints this afternoon. So he dragged me out for a couple of pints, and I managed to forget about things, well, for a bit, and then I'd mind him about it again. And then I comes home, and one of my friends was coming round. She's been my friend for years, she's really looked after me, helped me, and she was coming round to, she'd actually gone out and got me the Christmas presents for my daughter and that, because she knew how, hectic I was, how involved I was with this stuff. All I had to do was wrap them. And this Christmas Eve, I come back, I'm waiting for my daughter to come round, because we're going to have a bit of a Christmas dinner that night, on Christmas Eve. And she just said to me, Paul, you've missed a present, you've not wrapped this. And I'm like, oh, right. And I runs in the kitchen, because I know my daughter's just getting out of the car, coming in the house. So I'm trying to wrap it, and as I wrapped it, I ripped the paper, and I didn't have any more wrapping paper. And I just broke down, Jason. I just started crying. I didn't know why. I thought it was wrapping paper, but I broke down. And this girl came into me and saw the state of me, and she said, Paul, and I couldn't make any sense. And I just got myself sat on the kitchen counter, and I just remember hearing her say, right, that's it, I've had enough of this. And she went and got my daughter out of the living room. Unbeknownst to me, she said, I'm going to ask you to do something now, and it's going to be really hard. She said, I don't know how else to do it. I've tried to reach him and I can't get there. She said, I can see it. And my daughter's saying, I can see he's not my dad. Because I was obsessed with this stuff. Because when you've never even bothered reading too much throughout your life, you've just gone through things because you can't be bothered. All of a sudden, I've got this thirst for knowledge that is real. It's really real, because it controls and conducts our lives. So I knew I was right about this stuff, so I did become obsessed. Anyway, she drags my daughter in. My daughter's got these beautiful blue eyes, and I looked into these eyes, and because she stands my daughter in front of me and says, look at him. Look at the state of him. And that's what this had done to me, Jason. It had brought me to a point where my daughter stood looking in my eyes, and in her eyes, all I could see was the pain I was causing them with what she could see. Do you get me?
Yeah, I absolutely do get you. I've had pretty much a similar sort of experience recently, which I may share one day on the show. I completely understand. So from that point, then, is that when you decided that you needed to concentrate more on what was really important and step away a little bit from the stuff that you were doing?
Well, it was starting to do that anyway. It wasn't about stepping away. It was about still fighting the corner, which I did, because the property didn't go until September 2017. And some of the best comments I ever heard was, we've already wasted too much time and too much money in court time on this. Whereas it should have been over and done and dusted 5 years previous. I had a really decent circuit judge on one hearing, and he awarded me in my favour. He was the only man of integrity that I met in judges throughout my stint in that. But it wasn't about pulling away from the court stuff. It was about when I wasn't in court, when I'd done the paperwork, it was about switching off, Jason. It was about not obsessing about it. It was about sitting and watching a carry-on film and laughing my arse off at it. It was about sitting with my friends and my family and not talking about it. That was what it was. Because at that point, when I had that breakdown, I was angry with everybody. I was angry that people weren't interested, that their sons, daughters, grandchildren were going to get financially, physically, mentally, emotionally raped for the rest of their bleeding lives and not even know. I was angry. And once I'd gone through that angry phase and I calmed down, and then if people didn't want to talk about it or didn't believe me, I was going, no, that's fine. Let's talk about football. That's what I learned to do. I learned to be able to talk shit with people who can only talk shit. And I used to talk shit forever. Football, beer, booze, and women. That's what lads talk about, right? Especially when I was growing up. That was, come on, that's it. You had to work because you needed that money to go and get that beer, to turn out, to talk to women, and to go to football and play football. That was life. But that also takes me back, because I had so many epiphanies going through in this time, where when I was 6 years old, I think I've said this to you before, Jason, I apologise for repeating myself if I have, but I remember saying to my mum at 6 years old, Mum, you and my dad work really hard. I don't want to go out. I don't want to get a job. I'd rather play on my bike. You know, it's a 6-year-old's mentality. I'd rather play on my bike. Well, you have to. Why? Because you have to. I said, why? He said, because you want to get a house. You want to go on holiday. You want to get married. You want to have kids. You want to get a car. Why? Because that's life. That's life. Now, that's what my mum believed. That's what she was taught. I've come along, I believed all that, but kind of, when I look back, I kind of never have believed it because I never wanted it. But I did get caught up in all that tornado. I mean, I remember 15 years ago coming home watching Emmerdale, Coronation Street, EastEnders, and Coronation Street. That was my life. And then you'd go to bed and get up and go to work and do it all over again. And you'd get through the week, wish it all away to get to the weekend. You get pissed all weekend, not even remember any of it, and you're back in work on Monday. And that's what I was taught life was. And it's not quite that. And when I realised it wasn't quite that, I didn't expect that the mass majority of people didn't want to hear that it wasn't quite like that, because it's a nice quiet existence if you can stay under the radar and allow them to keep stealing your money to pay for bills that you're not liable for, but your life is constant, and your kids have got a smile on their face, then that's what you do, isn't it? I'd never think of criticising anybody now who wouldn't pass this information on or wouldn't challenge these things, because I've stood in court shaking like a shitting dog, even though the court didn't know it. It's scary stuff. I've never asked. I fortunately, my daughter's grown up now. I'm fortunate to not have any responsibilities as dependents to worry about. I'm just have to deal with myself, and it's enabled me to meet hundreds, thousands of people, if we include online, to get bits of information. I'm going having a meeting with a guy from Manchester who's been using Accepted for Value. Now, I think Andy and you yourself have talked about the Express Private Trusts and what that does, how it all puts everything into a trust, that exactly like what the elites of this world do. They put everything into a trust. You can't get to them. You cannot get to them. You can only talk to trustees. They just blow you off like that. And it's what he's done is he's used the Accepted for Value to promote his private trust, which collapses the construed trust that the government have put on top of our original trust, which is what I was talking about, which the Treasury run for us. We also know that the Section 151 officers, the chief financial officers of the councils, they're getting payments for every man and woman. This is why they're sitting on millions, because they're getting payments. And what happens is, because we do not write our bills off to the Section 151 officer, because believe it or not, after every 7 years, all the local councils would quash all debts. Because would you find this a crazy idea that debt is not conducive to a good economy, Jason?
Well, of course not.
Yeah, apparently debt isn't conducive to a good economy, so they'd write everybody's debts off every 7 years. Well, guess what? That is because the economy is bankrupt. It's based on credit. Who is the creditor? Me and you. Everybody. So the creditors go into banks thinking that the bank is actually going to lend them their money. No, it's bollocks. They're bankrupt. It's illegal for them to lend you money. So you take your credit and you gift it to them, but then you ask to borrow it back. And they come up with terms and conditions that you sign. That's brilliant.
Paul, I just wanted to, I mean, we've got about 10 minutes left. We perhaps can go over 5 or 10 minutes. But I just wanted to, I wanted to ask you, do you think that there's a growing movement of people that are waking up to this? I just wanted to ask you as well your opinion if you saw it, and if you didn't see it, then I'd suggest you see it. But there was a documentary on Channel 4 last week called Feral Families, and it began with what it claimed the subject matter was living with no rules. So there were these families, and they lived without rules. So the kids just did whatever the fuck they wanted. You know, they're up at midnight eating ice cream. You know, they're running about. Well, one of them had a knife, running about with a knife. A toddler running about with a knife. But in that, there were families that were also sensible and seemed to have, and it started off by saying an increasing number of people are deregistering their children from the system and either homeschooling them or just letting them do what they want. And I think they had the ones in that were homeschooling, who were homeschooling. There were some pretty decent families. But of course, then you get the family that don't go to school, don't do anything, and you know, there's 11 of them, I think they were, something like that, and there's just kids climbing everywhere and being rambunctious, just like what kids would do. So, to me, it seems it's becoming more mainstream that people are seeing it. I mean, I know that's not exactly linked to what we're talking about today, but it is something that's becoming a little bit more mainstream that is off the grid, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do, because I had a conversation with a mate at work where, you know, because he's a big Corbyn fan. Now, I don't vote because, you know, voting for the lesser of two evils and voting for an evil is not really one I want to, you know, put my energy into. I'd rather start, let's talk about some real issues. If somebody who's up for being voted in wants to come and chat to me, which people genuinely do not, I got blocked off for 4 years by Andy Burnham's personal assistant. She would not let me speak to him about this stuff because they're not interested. Now, if somebody who was going in that position was interested, I'd chat to him every day. But that's not, you know, you're hitting the nail on the head with what's going on here.
Yeah.
So,
but it just seems to me that there seems to be a little bit of a shift now, because we were ignored before, people like us.
Yeah.
And as you explained so eloquently earlier on, and anybody could hear it in your voice. And I'm not trying to blow smoke up your arse, because we don't do that we don't do sycophancy on this show. But anybody could tell that it was really something. What I'm trying to say is that there's a price that comes with the path that you've taken.
Yes, there is.
But the more and more people that come on board, the less and less that price is going to be.
Yes, the easier it gets, and that's what I mean. I would not try and force anybody to start to look at this and go. I understand how scary it is, but there's a point where you've just got to, you know, I could go across the road and say, knock on the door and say, give me 20 quid. No, why? What do you want? I'm not giving you 20 quid. I'm not. What do I owe you? What owe you 20 quid? Well, that's basic argument. The fella across the road doesn't owe me 20 quid. So when somebody comes and sends me a letter and they say I owe them something and I question it, all of a sudden I'm jumped on. I'm called down police on. There's something not right. We've had this discussion, Jason, about many different things, you know, from all kinds of aspects. But we had a conversation about the Holocaust once. You cannot question anything to do with that because that's illegal. That makes me suspicious. And it was happening when I was questioning about bills. I don't believe I'm liable for this. What's happening here? Why are you bullying me? I'm asking you questions. And there is a massive awakening to it because you can't get away from the fact, even though they're talking about things like the JFK documents, you know, I've read one paragraph out of one of those documents that stated the Surgeon General said that the first entry wound was in the throat below Kennedy's Adam's apple. That obviously means it came from the front. That destroys the official narrative just in one paragraph. And I haven't read all the others. So things are being unveiled. Things are coming to light. It's about people who are going to these courts. People can still go to court and pay their fines and, comply because of the fear aspect. I understand that. But whilst you're doing that, start asking questions. Whilst you're doing that, go and do a bit of research. Watch the omnibus of the EastEnders or Coronation Street. Because when the gas lads came round, and believe it or not, British Gas warrants officers now and gas fitters come in stab vests. Or they did to mine anyway. So the guy's got a stab vest on. I have no interest in stabbing him.
No.
I'm just to educate him by showing him, you're not liable to pay for your gas, but you're going to pass this on to your kids, aren't you? Yeah. Because that is the law. I said, no, it's not. I said, you don't understand it. Do you understand anything? Well, because I went through all the negotiable instruments because I thought, whilst they're here, changing meters and forcing this issue on me to take forward, whilst you're doing this, you're going to listen to what I've got to say. And he said, you've researched it, you know what you're talking about, don't you? I said, yeah, but you're going to still teach your kids the same old way, aren't you? And he said, yeah. I said, have you got a mortgage? He says, yes, I have. I said, the bank's not lent it yet. I told them everything what I've just said about securitisation, about the insurance policy, that if you default, they claim on the insurance, your mortgage is paid in full. And then they still come after you for your house. What's going on? I know that they are going for repossession. That's what they say. Well, you can't repossess something you've not possessed. So what else is there? Foreclosure. Well, guess what? If you foreclose on that agreement, you've got to go to a county court of equity and prove that I've lent money from you. And you can't do that because it's illegal for you to do that. So they're playing with, I think it's, off the top of my head, section 21 and 23C of the County Courts Act. One's repossession, which they can't claim for, so they always say foreclosure. But people do not understand that if they're foreclosing on a credit agreement, they've credited you with something. Well, guess what? I don't believe you've lent me anything. Let's go to that County Court of Equity. You prove you've lent me that money. And they can't.
Well, Paul, we've come to the end of our hour. As Andy has put in the chat room, for evil to triumph, all that is required is that good men stand back and do nothing. You're a good man and you've not stood back and done nothing. You've stuck up for yourself. You've stuck up for your rights. You've stuck up for other people as well. And I applaud you for that. So thanks for joining us tonight on Raconteurs Too. I'm sorry, we didn't even get into Flat Earth. What's that all about?
I know, but anyway, you can't talk about that because you're retarded if you've got any questions anyway. I don't even know what fucking shape Earth it is. It was a pear shape last time I saw Neil deGrasse Tyson. I give up, mate. This world's fucking nuts. It's bonkers.
It's completely upside down, isn't it? It's completely upside down. Listen, a couple of things I just want to mention before we go. I want to point out this is brilliant. This is the cancer charity appoints an online nurse to combat fake news. So we've got an online Macmillan Cancer Research have took on a woman to combat fake news online talking about different cures for cancer. Now, I have had a look at this, and cannabis is not. They do give a bunch of examples, but cannabis isn't one of them. Now, this woman, obviously, who's a nurse. I'm looking at a picture of her now. Doesn't look in the best of health, and she's got a head like a witch doctor's rattle. So whatever. You just check that one out. I thought that were interesting and a little bit weird. And also, I'd like to mention as well, actress Dee Sadler, who I'm not familiar with, but I'm told that she is an actress, has become a patron of the Jeremy Bamber campaign. So check her out. Give her your support as well. Dee Sadler, she's called. I think it's at DD Sadler on Twitter. But
the wiggies cause I'm off to the hole in the road. I'm wagging off school and I'm off to the city, watching telly all night and I'm not looking pretty. See, I got this job downtown, selling knocked off ladies watches for £1. For a really dodgy man that I met in a dodgy cafe. You know, he said to me, the girl who sold these yesterday wasn't selling very carefully. Police came along and took her and all my watches away. So if you see some coppers, you grab my stuff and leg it, boy, right away. I'll be in the cafe. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. It's been a few hours and I haven't sold enough for my bus fare home. Street selling's pretty tough, so I turn on the charm for the lunchtime rush with a smile and a wiggle on my schoolboy touch. So the charm is working in the underground. There's a crowd of men and women gather round, and the watches they are going, the money is a flowing. Think I'll take a little extra, stick it in my pocket, spend you later. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I haven't sold a watch for an hour and I'm dying for a slash. I've had enough of this, so I'm off for a piss. Then a quick walk back round to the cafe, sitting at his table drinking tea. Looks at me suspiciously, then with a glance at the watch he says, how did you do? He paid me a couple of quid, then he said, would you like to come and work another day? I said I'd come back down on Friday, and to that he said okay. So with £2 in my pocket and another 5 in my shoe, I nipped down to Castle Market where a man who looks like Leo Sayer is selling pots with cockles and prawns. You make me feel like dancing. Then off back to dinner on the Wiggies and then home. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy baby.